They was not scared of Suge Knight. They was terrified.
Like, was somebody from the barbershop like punch you and knock you out after that? Like, you be knocked out like from the guy from the barbershop do that? It changed, and they be like, Suge's outside, and everybody be like, yeah. What do you want?
Well, I don't lead by money. I've never let money lead my life.
And it was real. It's like, man. This is when I knew. I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real.
Eminem and 50 Cent just shook the game up, big time. They fired off a warning shot straight at Suge Knight, and what they said has everybody second-guessing everything we thought we knew about their beef and loyalty. They're still carrying heavy grudges against Suge for the way he did some of their closest people dirty. Now, if you ain't deep into the history, let's break it down real quick. This drama didn't just pop off yesterday. Eminem and 50 Cent inherited the smoke. The moment they linked up with Dr. Dre, they also stepped right into the battlefield with Suge Knight. Real name, Marion Hugh Knight Jr.
M was walking to his seat, I'm standing up to the side, and M was cut off on his way to his seat, and all these guys in red shirts surrounded him. And I'm looking at M's face, and I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, something ain't right. So I start making my way around to come up the aisle, and next thing I know, you see all these guys talking about death row, death row. I was like, death row, what does it got to do with him? He said, hey man, Suge sent him a message. I said, oh, yeah. Well, in 1999 at the Source Awards, Suge Knight sent his henchmen, man.
Suge started out working security for big names like Bobby Brown, but it didn't take him long to realize the real power wasn't rocking the mic. It was calling the shots from behind the scenes. In 1991, Suge teamed up with Dr. Dre, the DOC, and Dick Griffey to build what would turn into one of the most feared empires in rap history.
And the Source Award for Best Performance goes to...
Who's the winner?
Where my dogs at? DMX!
DMX!
Death Row Records. When Dre dropped The Chronic in '92, it flipped the entire game upside down. That sound, untouchable. Then came Snoop Dogg with Doggy Style in '93, and the charts didn't stand a chance. Once Tupac joined the roster, it was lights out. Death Row was the culture. They had the beats, the attitude, the cash, and the streets on lock. But behind all that glitz was a dark side that nobody could ignore. Suge Knight didn't just run Death Row, he ruled it like a boss.
After that, we got out of there. We called the limo. This is where it gets up. We called the limo. Death Row is still sitting out there waiting for us. The limo's pulling off as we're coming out. Death Row's behind us. It was like, this motherfucker's trying to kill us, man. What they trying to do? What do they want? I don't understand. What do they want?
Yeah, M's ready to swing on someone if he has to.
Yeah, man. You know, like I said, he ain't no punk. You know, we were all going out. We were supposed to be on vacation and having a good time with our family and kids and wives, you know, and, just parlaying, man. As the plane land, they open the door up, and you got Honolulu police standing right there talking about, hey, y'all got to come with us. And it was about 20 officers, man. Say, hey, you guys got to come with us. Death Row Records is here, and they wreaking havoc.
Word on the street is Vanilla Ice even got pressed into signing over his royalties. And that's just the beginning. Man, the stories coming out about Suge Knight are wild. Multiple sources say Suge had artists stripping down in the office over petty stuff that could have been squashed with a simple convo. That whole place ran on straight up fear and control. If Suge said jump, you jumped. No questions asked. By 1996, Dr. Dre had seen enough. He was done with the madness. Dre didn't just walk away, he gave up his royalties, his 50% ownership of Death Row, everything. That's how bad he wanted peace, man. He straight up left millions on the table and built Aftermath Records from scratch. But Suge? Oh, he wasn't about to let it slide. Suge felt like Dre betrayed him, and he made it his personal mission to make sure Dre would never shine without him.
And then, one cassette tape changed everything. While digging through demos with Jimmy Iovine, Dre heard something that made him go,
"What the fuck and who the that?"
The voice belonged to Eminem, a young rapper from Detroit struggling to make ends meet. Raised by a single mother, Eminem had faced poverty, bullying, and hardship, but those struggles fueled his fire. In Detroit's underground rap scene, Eminem worked relentlessly to prove himself.
M had inherited Dr. Dre's beef by signing with Dre.
Suge then began to do everything he could to discredit both Dre and Eminem. In a 2002 interview with Howard Stern, Suge took jabs at Eminem's authenticity, questioning whether he was truly from the streets or just a white rapper playing a role.
What do you think of Eminem? What do you think of white rap?
If you really from the ghetto and you really doing those things you rapping about and you talking about, I can respect that.
Right.
But if somebody else writing your rhymes, somebody else, if you telling somebody else's story, that really don't mean nothing.
And for a minute, it looked like Suge might win. Aftermath's first few releases, they flopped hard. People out in the streets were whispering like, maybe Dre ain't got it no more. Meanwhile, Suge was chilling on the sidelines, watching it all crumble like he didn't even have to lift a finger. But just when it looked like Dre might be finished, he pulled a move nobody saw coming. He signed this hungry white kid from Detroit who had fire in his veins, Eminem, straight out of 8 Mile, bro. And when the Slim Shady LP dropped, the whole industry flipped upside down. Eminem came in raw, unfiltered, and sharp as a blade, before anybody could even catch their breath.
Duo became one of hip-hop's most iconic partnerships. But, as with any success, not everyone was cheering them on. Suge Knight, watching from the sidelines, felt threatened. By this point, Death Row Records had changed drastically.
Dr. Dre left first, Pac died. You know, all of those things kept us at #1. The music changed. The direction changed.
Tupac was gone, Suge himself was behind bars, and Snoop Dogg had become another thorn in his side. Just like Dr. Dre, Snoop wasn't interested in the East Coast versus West Coast feud. He stayed friends with people Suge considered enemies. And that didn't sit well with him. Tensions escalated quickly. Suge, furious over Snoop's defiance, even went as far as threatening to kill him.
Eminem snatched up 3 Grammys. Just like that, Dre was officially back on top. Suge Knight couldn't just sit back and watch no more. He started plotting again. But this time, it wasn't just Dre he had a problem with. Suge had his sights locked on Eminem too. According to multiple media outlets, Suge was scheming heavy behind the scenes. Fast forward to 1999, a wild night at an award show that people still talk about today. Eminem was just trying to make his way to the stage, probably thinking it was just another regular night. But out of nowhere, Suge's crew rolled up deep, rocking red shirts, loud as ever. They surrounded M and started yelling "Death Row" right in his face. They were trying to rattle him, trying to send a message loud and clear. But Eminem, man, he didn't even blink. He kept it moving, stayed cool, walked right up there, handed the award to DMX, and slid back into his seat like it was nothing, straight up savage. Even outside the venue, Suge's people weren't letting it go. They hovered around M's limo, looking like they were ready to start something. Waiting, watching, still trying to prove a point. But guess what? Eminem wasn't built to crack under pressure. He had survived way worse growing up. That little stunt wasn't about to break him. And Suge, he never really let it go either. Anytime Eminem started dominating the game, Suge found a way to throw shade. Whether it was slick talk in interviews or sneaky moves behind the scenes, he stayed trying to downplay Slim, saying stuff like Eminem didn't come from the streets and that he was just playing a character. But Suge wasn't just about talking trash. Back in '99, during a Death Row reunion party out in Hawaii, Suge decided it was time to make a move. The event was stacked with heavy hitters, and the tension was thicker than ever. Dre, Snoop, Eminem, even their families, all rolled out for what was supposed to be a chill getaway. But Suge Knight, man, he had other plans. Sources say Suge packed his crew into the city, spreading them out like they were setting up for war. They weren't just there to party, they were lurking, waiting to stir up trouble. Word got back to Dre fast. And they didn't waste no time. They weren't about to play games, especially with their families in the mix. They called in heavy-duty security, even law enforcement, just to make sure nobody got caught slipping. Then 2002 hit, and everything shifted for good. Eminem came across 50 Cent's mixtape, Guess Who's Back, and instantly knew he had found gold. He ran it to Dre, and just like that, the blueprint was set. Dre and M signed 50 to Shady and Aftermath, and it was game on. When Get Rich or Die Tryin' dropped on February 6, 2003, it was a total takeover. That album shot straight to #1 on the Billboard 200, pulling over 872,000 copies sold in the first week alone. Nobody could deny it. 50 Cent had arrived in a big way, but stepping into Dre and M's world meant 50 also stepped straight into their old beef. And Suge Knight was still out here moving shady. Suge wasn't just throwing slick shots either. According to reports, he tried pulling one of his old intimidation moves. Word is, he rolled up thick to 50s in Dog Club video shoot, rolling 30 deep with some serious-looking dudes. As soon as people spotted Suge and his crew, most of the folks on set weren't trying to be heroes. They dipped out fast. Nobody wanted smoke with Suge's squad that day. But here's where things got real crazy. 50 Cent didn't flinch, not one step back. He stood his ground, looked Suge Knight dead in the eye, and basically asked him straight up, "What's up?" That move right there spoke louder than any words. When Suge realized his old scare tactics weren't gonna work on 50, he just backed off and walked away without even saying a word. But just when you thought the beef might cool down, Eminem threw a wild curveball that fired everything back up. Out of nowhere, an unreleased diss track called Smack leaked, and let's just say, Eminem wasn't holding nothing back. In the track, Slim didn't just take shots, he went for the jugular. He tore into Suge Knight and Ja Rule, no hesitation. But it got even more heated when Eminem took it a step further, blaming Suge for the deaths of two absolute rap legends, Tupac and Biggie. Eminem rapped, "I'm holding Suge responsible for the deaths of the two greatest rappers to ever grace the face of this planet. If only the late great Mr. Christopher Wallace could talk, he could tell you himself. I'm holding Suge responsible for the death of Ja Rule or anyone else down with death row, in the immortal words of Pac, speaking for me and any other rapper next to get shot." That bar right there, it hit the streets like an explosion. This track didn't just leak and fade away, it straight up reignited old beefs that people thought were buried years ago. As of now, Suge Knight hasn't said a single word about the track, but you already know the internet didn't waste no time. People are talking heavy, and the buzz just keeps getting louder. After Smack leaked and the streets caught fire, it wasn't just Suge Knight feeling the heat. Ja Rule got dragged straight into the storm too. And Ja, he wasn't about to stay quiet. Word is, he started throwing shots back at Eminem and 50 Cent in interviews, trying to paint them like they were all industry-made and soft. But 50 wasn't the type to let anything slide. He clapped back instantly, dropping diss after diss, even naming Ja on tracks like Back Down. It was pure disrespect, and the fans ate it up. Every track, every line, 50 was letting it be known. He wasn't scared of nobody. Not Suge, not Ja, not nobody. Meanwhile, Suge stayed lurking in the shadows, trying to move like a boss without getting his hands dirty. Rumors started flying that he was still trying to blackball Dre, Eminem, and 50 behind closed doors. But it didn't matter. Shady Aftermath was untouchable at that point. They were selling millions, dominating radio, smashing tours. There was no stopping that machine. But don't get it twisted. The danger was real. Sources close to M and 50 said they rolled with extra security everywhere they went. Bulletproof trucks, armed guards, the whole nine. They knew old grudges didn't just fade away, especially when someone like Suge Knight felt like he had been played. In the streets and behind the scenes, the tension was thick. Everybody knew it. And as Shady Aftermath kept climbing higher, the old wolves were still circling, waiting for any sign of weakness. One user said, "I'm no expert on hood politics, but I've heard a lot of people say the white dudes are usually the craziest ones, because they gotta prove themselves twice as hard. Another user chimed in saying, 50 did exactly what anybody should do to a bully. Stand up and show no fear. Bullies survive off fear alone. And honestly, that right there might explain why Eminem and 50 clicked so tight from day one. No fear, no backing down, just pure raw energy every time they stepped out. Somebody else added, Suge didn't care about the music, ever. He cared about power. And funny enough, he still does. See how well that worked out for him? Now the big question flying around the internet is this. Should Eminem have dropped smack way earlier? Would it have hit even harder if he unleashed it back when the streets were boiling and the tension was thicker than ever? Y'all, it's wild how deep this story runs. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Drop your thoughts down below. I want to hear what you think about all this madness. Catch you in the next one.